Okay, so I'm the black image. Um, this talk is going to have like two parts. I'm going to talk about Cantina code, and then Harry's going to talk about the competitions. But there's like a lot of overlap between the two. So who are we, basically? We are co-founders of Spearbit, and we're building Cantina. Harry and I, we have been working on the Solidity compiler for quite a few years. And you know what the Solidity compiler work entails, of course, a lot of language design, implementation. But basically, it happens all on GitHub. It's open source in the public. So what we did, we spent, I would say, like 90% of our time on GitHub, looking at issues, looking at code, doing code review on the code, interacting with our clients. And our clients are basically the users. It's you guys. So that's what working on Solidity meant. You know, we were living on GitHub. And with Cantina Code, we are going to look at how to improve this process. You can see our two links there. Those are our Cantina profiles. You can find more details about us over there. How many of you have heard about Cantina? Is it because it's up there? Or have you seen the Twitter? Cool. Have you heard about Cantina Code or competitions? Quite a few. So if you looked at Cantina in the past few months, this is what you have seen. You have seen like landing page, and you have seen user profiles. And the user profiles focused on the data we already had of the community working with us. So what it mostly means is all the reviews they have conducted under Spearbit. But we have to take this further. I mean, this is only the beginning. And what we're working on is the next stage. We're making Cantina the base layer of security. And that's like, you know, big words. But what that means is we want to make this a platform which can be used to conduct reviews and engagements for anything related to security. I have highlighted three major points we're focusing right now, but this is really just the first 3 points we have to get done first. Code review, communication, and reputation. What do you think these mean? I mean, obviously, code review is simple. What people are doing is they're reviewing code, and they're trying to find issues. While doing this review, you do spend time alone looking at the code, but you do also spend a lot of time with communicating with your team, the community, and your client, the people you're reviewing the code of. And once you have conducted this review, we also want to figure out the reputation you have gained with this. You know, what reputation means here is basically we want to know how good people are performing, how reliable and trustable they are. So if you look at the communication conducted with your team or with the client, obviously that feeds into reputation. I have also conducted some reviews in the past, and what mattered to me is to have team members who are active, reliable, trustable. If I can have like a system where I can easily tell these attributes of a person, I'm more likely to work with them. So the first point here is code review. This is what I'm going to talk most about. As I mentioned, we have been spending most of our time on GitHub, like our days have been GitHub. So you can imagine Cantina Code is inspired by GitHub, because GitHub has spent so much time in perfecting the system they have, and we quite enjoy it. However, they do have some issues. GitHub is really for development. It's not for reviewing code, somebody else's code. So what we have done in Spearbit, are you guys familiar with the Spearbit model? How the reviews work at Spearbit? Not many. So imagine what was taking place before Spearbit. Okay, one more question. Have you had an audit, a security review conducted by someone for you? Not too many people here. Well, what are you guys doing? But you know what reviews were done through? You as a client provided some code to the reviewer. The reviewer went into hiding. They came back after like a week and dropped you like a few issues. And then you had to like scramble in and look at what the issues are, try to find the code you have related to the issue, fix it, send it back to them. and then they maybe went into hiding for another week. This was like before Spearmint. And then we changed this process using GitHub. And the best thing we could have done with GitHub is creating PRs. So we created PRs of the code pieces you want to review. And if you know what GitHub does with the PRs, it shows you a diff. And how do we create the PRs? We created from scratch. So it was a diff of adding all those lines. So it works, but it's not ideal. We have taken this to the next level. I'm going to have a number of screenshots here, and they're going to have a lot of dummy data, lorem ipsum, etc. The site is actually live, and we have conducted reviews, private reviews, internal reviews, with a number of community members. But I couldn't take screenshots of that because that's actual live data. So the next best thing we have is lorem ipsum. But trust me, it's actually live. The first thing you are going to do when you use Cantina code is obviously you're going to look at the code. I'm not sure if it's like, because my screen is kind of small, but can you read anything here from the back? Awesome. Yeah, I mean, obviously you have like the file listing, you have the code you're going to review, and it must be like familiar to you if you use GitHub. You have code selection, comments, findings, whatnot. So imagine you looked at the code, you found something, but you're not entirely sure yet whether it's an issue. So you're going to create a comment, and you're going to discuss with your team members, potentially even with the client if you have a bigger question, which you or the team members neither understand. But once you kind of confirm that, oh, this is actually a bug, you want to create a finding. And we have made a number of properties first-class citizens, which you cannot have on GitHub because GitHub is not made for code review. Obviously, the biggest importance is finding out the title and description and severity, because you want to show how important this issue is. But what I'm most proud of is that we have the code selection. And this may seem like simple. GitHub does this too. But in GitHub, you can only select a single code selection. It's not actually displayed here, but you can link a number of different code pieces to the same finding. So once you created the finding, what is the next important step is to be able to browse, sort, filter all the findings which have been created by you or by others. This is basically the findings view. If we had like interactive slides, I would have scrolled down and displayed all the detail there. But at least we have a screenshot. So you have the base information of the current version of the finding. You have the title, severity, status, description, and there you can see, is this a pointer? Yeah, battery's out. There you can see there are two files linked to this single finding. And if you scroll down, you're going to see the history for the findings. So there's like you as a creator, you can change the risk, you can change the details, the judges, if you're talking to competitions, the judges can make adjustments, clients can make adjustments, and you're able to track all of this. Now, once somehow this review process has concluded, whether it's through a judging or whether it's through like an internal review by the reviewing team, you will need to have reports, right? Because that's the main outcome of this today. But I think the main outcome of this code review is the process, the interaction with the client, finding the actual issues and fixing them. The report is just an artifact you have right now. It is just an output people expect. But the real output is finding the issues and finding the issues, working through them with the client. So that's basically, the basic steps we have right now. I mean, nothing new, right? You review the code, you discuss with your teammates, you create the findings, you discuss the finding with the client and the judge, and then there's like the report. So where is Cantina code shining here? I mean, as I alluded to it, we have spent the last actually 2 years. But almost 2 years with this GitHub process I explained in the beginning. And this is the basis of what we are trying to achieve. We have taken what we have been through in the past 2 years, all the pros and cons, and taking that into Cantina code. The main goal here is that we want a really fast and lean and efficient process. Like every single decision we have is made by that. So here, just wanted to go back there. So this is your finding, and you have the drop down to make changes. Some of those have a confirmation screen, but obviously for judges, you don't want to have like 5 clicks to make a change. So for judges, all of these are like one-click options. They can quickly make the changes because they may have to sift through like thousands or hundreds of findings. And of course, we had to mention Rust. I guess that's the cool language. But we do actually have worked quite a lot on Rust. In fact, as part of Solidity, we wanted to get Solidity rewritten in Rust. We didn't manage to achieve that, but at least we got to write Cantina code in Rust. So yeah, obviously the front end is not Rust, because we're not insane. But the back end and all the parts where the speed matters the most is Rust and is built with speed in mind, because we do expect all of you to want to use this. So far we have talked about code review. What I mentioned, the communication is equally important. I wanted to really highlight that the communication happens in 2 different pieces. On the code review page is where you create the comments, where you discuss with teammates. And these are really internal discussions. You can also leave bookmarks, whatever. And in case of like competitions, if the repository becomes public at the end, these comments won't be visible. These are for you. These are really the internal discussions leading to the findings. The second part of communication is with the client, which really happens on the finding tab. Yeah, it doesn't really have the screenshot, but you can imagine the client can also comment. They cannot just change labels. So we talked about code review, communication, and reputation. I mean, obviously, because we're talking initially about competitions, there's going to be leaderboard. What is more important in competitions? Finding extra stuff for being on the leaderboard, I wonder. Maybe for some people, being on the leaderboard and having the fat payout. Our intent is not to have like a static leaderboard with this is the amount of money you've earned. Our intent to build a reputation system. And even right now we don't have the leaderboard rolled out, we do have all this data. Looking at these history changes, you can imagine that we do record like a ton of data. That's why Rust is kind of important. And we are going to take all of the data to build a rich reputation system, which may have like an on-chain element that is to be confirmed. And I think here's where I'm going to invite Harry onto the stage. So mostly talk about what code is doing. And code is going to be used for all kinds of reviews, but initially for competitions. We do use it internally for private reviews, but competitions is the one you guys are going to be seeing live. And there are 2 key points we have to and want to focus here on, is we want to make judging the fastest, and we want to make client interaction the fastest. But I think Harry is like the best person to talk more in depth about competitions.
Thanks, Alex. So let's talk about some exciting competitions that we have coming next. But before that, how do you actually get into Cantina today? So we have a Cantina bouncer who controls who gets to get in. Cantina bouncer these days is in a friendly mood, so you can DM him or maybe watch out for his tweets to get an invite code. But also friends can help out other friends. So if you have a profile already, you can go to your edit profile tab and you can find an invite code that you can share with somebody else. But because this is TrustX and we allow TrustX, you can also reach out to one of us here and we can send a very nice plastic card with an invite code. Only for TrustX. And as I mentioned, the exciting part is the competitions we have coming next. We have been working with Morpho for a very long time, and we couldn't be more excited about hosting our first public Cantina competition with them. There would actually be two competitions running in parallel. The first one would be a competition for MorphoBlue. It's a somewhat small code base with a pod size of $100,000. It's less than 1,000 lines of code and $100,000 for finding bugs in it. We will also have a parallel competition for Morpho's additional components running for $100,000. And here is some alpha leak. There is someone who is prolific at competitions, and I heard rumors that he's going to be competing in this. He's sitting over there. It's Christoph. So if you ever wanted to compete with Christoph in a competition after a long time, this is your chance. It's going to be intense. It's going to be hard. So good luck. Next up, we have something very exciting that we're doing with Polygon CKVM. So we've been working with Polygon CKVM for a long time, just like Morpho. And for L2s with a sequencer, there is this important problem of censorship. So the sequencers can technically censor transactions on the mainnet because they are the ones who decide what transaction should go into the chain. So this idea of forced transaction is quite important for having an L2 that is anti-censorship resistant. So Polygon will actually enable forced transactions really soon in their Polygon CKVM chain. And we want to organize a mix of a competition and a CTF to break this. So for the very first time probably ever, you get the chance to break a chain and get paid to do that. So we are really excited to see what you guys want to do here. It'll be very fun to dose the chain. And next up, we have Superform. Superform is a yield marketplace, and we will be hosting a competition for them starting on November 27th. This will be a competition with a $140,000 USD support, but similar to the Polygon CKVM CTF, we would be organizing a CTF following that with an on-chain element. So you also get to hack a bit on-chain and maybe win some money afterwards as well. So here are some invite codes that you can use to join right away if you don't have some. But as I mentioned before, you can reach out to us later on, and we're very generous these days. We have 10 more minutes left. I'm happy to take a few questions here. Is there a mic?
Yep. I have one here.
Hello.
Hey.
A question on the leaderboard. Is that only findings from contests, or does that include findings from audits as well?
Yeah, that's a great question. We want to start off with just the competition, but we want to find ways to expand beyond just that. Any other questions?
What will be the pricing model for Cantina code to use, for example, in security companies? And the second question is how the private code is protected within the Cantina code, like private repos and so on, private findings.
That's a great question. So if you are a security company or a small team trying to review code and want to use Cantina code, just reach out to us. We are happy to put it in your hands at no cost. We're not immediately concerned about making money here. So yeah, just reach out to us. We're happy to get you access to Cantina code that you can use for your personal use. In terms of private findings, every finding you make is going to be private, and it's only going to be visible to you and the client and the judge at the end. Does that actually answer your question? Or did you mean like using encryption?
Private encryption with my key and so on.
Yeah, that's a great question. We haven't done encryption yet. Maybe in the future we can. But the trust model we want to use is you will be able to access it, and only you will be able to access it, like among all the among people competing, and then the client and the judge at the later stage. So these are the access controls. Any other questions? Oh, start me. Oh no, no questions? If there are no other questions, okay. You could actually visit cantina.xyz/competitions, by the way. I just made it live. If there are no other questions, I'm gonna give the stage to Merlin. Merlin is one of the co-founders of Morpho, and he would be talking about the Morpho code base right now. I'm very excited to hear this because I think Merlin has created one of the best engineering teams in DeFi, and we're always excited to work with Morpho and see what they are building.
Pitch yesterday. Didn't really have the time, so I rushed the slides. Please be indulgent. I hope you heard Harry that said that you could compete against Christoph, and so yeah, just listen to Harry. So yeah, first, what's Morpho? So at Morpho Labs, we built first what we call the optimizers. So optimizers are basically like we're just optimizing existing lending protocols such as Aave and Compound. On Aave, you have like a huge spread between the supply rate and the borrow rate. And what we did in the matching in the optimizers is like the matching engine is matching users within that spread. And what we basically are doing is like we are improving rates for both suppliers and borrowers. So the added value was pretty clear. It was same risk, same parameters, but better rates. And now we have close to $1.1 billion of deposited assets, which makes the third largest lending protocol during a bear market, which is kind of nice. And but optimizers are capped by the underlying protocols, such as Aave and Compound, because if it increases too much, then it can cause kind of systemic risk to the underlying protocol. So that's the optimizers. So the last year we spent that year like doing research about like lending protocols. Morpho optimizers are the largest lending protocol users because they are built on top of existing lending pools such as Aave and Compound. It's also the third largest lending platform. So we are kind of aware of like the nightmare that it is to integrate a lending protocol, but also we are really aware of like what are the issues for integrators and users of lending protocols. What we realized as well is like Aave and Compound in fact are kind of an on-chain fund where it offers like a very passive and nice UX. Just deposit and forget. Just earn yields and that's it. And the DAO manages everything, like setting the risk parameters, adding new assets, posing the system, etc. The problem with that design is like it's not trustless because like every risk parameters can be updated, the pool can be posed, etc. It's not secure, it's not scalable, and it's not efficient. So I dive into those different points. So why it is not trustless? First, it's upgradable. like optimizers, by the way, are upgradable as well. So first, it's not upgradable. Risk parameters are updated quite frequently because you need to adapt to the different market conditions. You need to take into account new assets that are listed. You also need to have that to monitor everything and to pose the system where there is like a I don't know, someone wants to borrow a lot against TRV and buy a mansion, or I don't know, whatever. So you have that posing system that can break protocols that are built on top, such as morph optimizers. And thus, you can't really rely on it long term. You need to make sure that the contract that you have can also adapt to that underlying protocol, which is annoying in terms of like composability of DeFi. It's not secure in the sense like you have like very, very large code base, like can be like 5,000 lines of code, for instance, for AVV3. You have plenty of features like stable rate, e-modes, isolation mode, whatever. And you have some frequent bugs in production. So I think Stermy found some like during the last free issues on the AVV3 during the security review of the AVV3 optimizer. So he found free bugs. Like last weekend, it was a cool weekend for us because like there was a bug in AVV2 on the stable rate feature. So we needed also to pose on our side, like on the Morpho side, to mirror the changes and the risk parameters update on the underlying pool. So this is very so yeah, it's a nightmare to integrate. Also, it's not scalable in the sense like each time you add a new asset to the pool, you increase the systemic risk of the overall protocol. And also you expose everyone to that specific asset. Even if you are like I don't know, just a passive USDC lender, you're also exposed to the CRV that has been listed as collateral, or the egg sushi or whatever asset. Also, you have one risk profile that governs everyone. So either you're Alice the degen or Bob the family's father, you need to comply to and use the same risk parameters. Use the same liquidation factor, same collateral factor. And so you can't be a degen, or you can't be like in safe mode. You don't have the choice. It's like one risk profile for. And it's not possible to list long-tail assets because each time you need to go through the governance. As I said, like it increases the systemic risk of the pool. And so, by the way, Aave deployed a new protocol just for like LP tokens on AMMs. So you can't do it on the same protocol because it would be too dangerous for passive users. It's not efficient in the sense like all risk parameters must consider already listed assets on the pool, which make them not optimized. You can't have like really high collateral factors, and also because like the collateral can be borrowed, and you need to have that collateral available to do liquidations. You need to have a huge spread to de-incentivize the borrower side, so that you still have some liquidity on the pool, so that you can still make the liquidations. Also, so here comes MorphoBlue. So MorphoBlue is like the most simple lending protocol that you can imagine, in the sense like it does only one thing. You can borrow one asset against one collateral. That's it. It's super simple, but it does it perfectly. So it's trustless, it's an immutable code, like just a no upgradability pattern. It's governance minimized, like the governance can only like whitelist a new interest rate model or new risk parameters, but cannot take them down and cannot change markets once they are created. So the market will stay as is forever. And that's it. The risk management layer, in fact, it's not at the protocol level, but it must be recreated on top, which decouple like the risk from like the accounting system, let's say. And so that's for the trustless part. It's secure in the sense like it's much simpler than existing lending protocols. We didn't want to add every features that people are asking. We think that those features should be created on top under the form of like products that are built on top of protocols. And we deeply think that we shouldn't mix product and protocols. Protocols should be super simple, super easy to understand, super easy to review, and quite general to maximize composability and foster innovation on top. And the product on top would offer like you want stable rate, you want a new isolation mode or whatever. So with a general accounting layer, you can rebuild everything that you want. So the code is really simple. We wanted the code as to be like an article. You can just read it linearly. It's super simple. It's formally verified, and it has already been reviewed by OpenZeppelin and a Cantina managed team. It also unlocks efficiency in the sense like it allows to create isolated market. Plus, the local collateral is not used, so it stays liquid on the protocol. So it allows better capital efficiency because, like, you can increase all collateral factors, and you can basically leverage your position much more. Liquid collateral plus no maintenance by the DAO allows you to have better rates. In fact, you can create interest rate model with like without the spread of AVE, and you don't need to extract a fee such as AVE because AVE or compound needs to pay directly risk managers such as Gauntlet a lot each year to monitor the hundreds of risk parameters each day, monitor them, and provide like a new update for those risk parameters. Here, you don't need to care about that. So you don't need to pay and to pay services, risk management services for that. So you don't need to take like such a huge fee, which is by the way like 1/3 of the spread on AVE, for instance. And also you don't need to create that spread to disincentivize the borrower side. So you can have like a much better rate. Also, simple logic allows you to reduce the gas consumptions. One call to MorphoBlue would be like around 100K, and that's it. Compared to like 200, 300 more on AVE and much more on optimizers because of the matching engine. And it's much more scalable because like we allow permissionless market creation. So basically, you can create whatever market with whatever collateral, whatever loan asset, and whatever oracle. So you can use Redstone, you can use Chainlink. You can, I think I thought a bit about that, but I think you can even create like a oracle-less market with like taking inspiration from what Ajna is doing. So that could be something that someone could try on top of MorphoBlue. And you need to choose an interest rate model and LLTV, which is basically a kind of a collateral factor. because markets are isolated, it reduces the systemic risk. In fact, so because they are independent, you don't care about like if someone like creates a market with X sushi as collateral and Doge as borrowable asset. You don't care. It does not affect your position on MorphoBlue. You'll say that it brings like kind of a UX problem because it's much more efficient, etc., etc. But the problem is like because of isolated markets, you're fragmenting the liquidity, and more users need to choose their risk parameters on which market they want to deposit their money. So because there's no risk management like on Aave and Compound, you don't have that passive experience where you just deposit and forget and the DAO manages that for you. You need to make more, to basically be kind of a risk expert. And also, as I said, you have that liquidity fragmentation. That's why we built Metamorpho, which is so the Metamorpho protocol is a risk management layer on top of MorphoBlue. Basically, it's like ERC-4626 vaults managed by different risk managers, such as Chaos Labs, B Protocols, Techhouse, maybe Gauntlet later on, that are immutable, non-custodial, permissionless, and that allows you to recreate the passive experience that you have on Aave and Compound. But here, each vault can target a specific risk profile. Like, I don't know, for Alice the DGen, then she can deposit assets on the vault that is redirecting assets to market that are collateralized by like a risky asset, like Doge, I don't know. And so you can have a fine-grained experience, and it's much more scalable than existing pool design. So to conclude that, with MorphoBlue, in fact, we decouple the core functionalities of lending and borrowing and the risk management, which creates an opportunity for risk managers to create bankable business on top of MorphoBlue, and also offers like a much more scalable experience. You will be able to list reward asset as collateral. This is basically what Steakhouse will be specialized in at the very beginning, by like supplying asset to market that are collateralized by some real world assets. It has been built to be built on top. We really want it to be like the base layer of all lending products that will be able to be built on top. Like, I don't know, you can recreate stable rate, you can do strategies, and that's it. So what's next? So as I said, we did 2 security reviews. Now, Harry already talked about it. We are starting a competition. So today we start the competition for MorphoBlue only. So there's 100K at stake. Tomorrow we'll start the other part. There are different repositories in the MorphoBlue constellation. I have a few minutes left, so I can talk about them later on. But there's in total 200K at stake. It lasts 3 weeks, and there is like around 3,000 lines of code. And yeah, in this code there's MorphoBlue, Metamorpho, bundlers. Bundlers are kind of a layer of contract that allows EOAs to bundle different actions into one single transaction. So basically, like if you want to supply collateral on different markets, borrow assets, claim rewards, wrap your SDAI to DAI and supply them as collateral, whatever, you'll be able to do that. We have our first Oracle using that will be pluggable with Chainlink, but also Redstone. We have our first interest rate model, a URD that will allow like a product to or like token issuers to create incentives on different markets, and ERC20 permission, because like some Morphoblue in fact allows the creation of markets of any real-world asset, and some are securities, and so then you need some permission to access those markets. So that's it. Happy to answer any question on the code, on like the design choices, whatever. You have some links. You have a code walkthrough on the Twitter account of Cantina. You have a link to the documentation. It will be moved to the Cruiseris later on. And I think that's it. Do you have questions? No questions?
Yeah, for the people competing, what part of the code base would you think is like important to look for maybe bugs?
Sorry?
What would be the low-hanging fruits, among the code base?
So I think the interest rate model is maybe it's very math-oriented, and there are plenty of bounds like you need to check, etc. So if you like math, etc., arithmetic, and those kind of things, I think it's something you should look at. Morphoblue, I think it's very, very simple, but there are callbacks. Callbacks on supply collateral, on liquidate, and on supply functions. Those callbacks are super powerful because it allows you to get the to perform some actions before transferring those tokens to Morphoblue. So for instance, like in the callback of supply collateral, you could borrow assets and use those assets, swap them to the collateral, and deposit those collateral assets to Morphoblue. And basically, you could instant leverage your position or instant deleverage. For the liquidations side, you could like liquidate a position without having the liquidity and just doing the swap. So it's super powerful, but it allows you to have like kind of a real transparency within the protocol. So we need to make sure that it's working as intended, that there's no side effects that are possible. So that's one thing. Metamorpho is like there's some logic in it. We try to remove every useless features in every repositories, because we deeply think that right now in DeFi platforms are too complex. They try to do too many things at the same time, and so it ended up like being hacked, or it increases the attack surface. And so ERC4, the Metamorpho vaults, or maybe the contract that have the most of features, and so there can have like some edge cases that we miss. So yeah. After that, URD is pretty simple. Bundlers too. But anyway, I think if people want to check the code, etc., and be prepared for the Cantina contest, just ask me after that talk, and happy to share my screen. There's a question there.
Thank you for the talk. Which tool did you use to formally verify Morphoblue?
Certera.
Okay, and did the verification uncover any vulnerabilities?
Not really. not really. In fact, so usually it takes more time to formally verify the protocol. So in practice, we spot the bugs before, like by doing just unit test, integration test, invariant tests. But just like Satura allows you to say that this mathematical invariant is not broken, while you can't really say that with even with invariants using Foundry. You can't say that. Sometimes like you didn't make the setup right, or I don't know, it's not that as powerful as Satura. Also, we used Y3 for MorphoVV3. It's not really known, but this is because we have someone that has a PhD in that field, and he worked on that tool, so he knew it.
Thank you very much.
All right.